Confined to a hospital bed for 21 days, my dad handed over my home to my sister. When I got back, he stated, "It's not your house, never return." I calmly replied, "Hope you enjoy." 1 week later, the shocking twist I had prepared left them speechless. Can you imagine coming home from the hospital, still weak and barely breathing, only to have your own father look you straight in the eye and declare, "It's not yours anymore. Don't come back?" Because that's exactly what happened to me. And let me tell you, that moment felt like a punch to the gut. But it also became the turning point I never knew I needed. My name's Ethan. I'm 30. And for most of my life I was the older kid, the steady one. The guy who worked maintenance at the city water plant, graveyard shifts, hands always smelling like bleach and copper. I scraped and saved, and when I was 27, I bought my little 2-bedroom house. It wasn't fancy. Peeling porch paint, a fridge that sounded like a dying robot, and a maple tree that basically carpeted the yard in helicopters every spring. But it was mine, or so I thought until my family decided it wasn't. My sister, Lily, she's 25. She's always been the golden ticket. Things just happen for Lily. Jobs appear out of nowhere. Bills vanish. Dad, he calls her my girl. His voice soft, almost reverent. A voice I've never heard him use on me. For me, it was always the other voice. The one that barked, "Be a man." Mom left when we were kids. Dad raised us on blunt opinions and microwave dinners. He loved loudly and sometimes badly. He loved by giving you a task, then telling you how you messed it up. When I closed on my house, he just grunted, "Proud of you then. Don't get cocky." In the same breath, he made me paint the living room alone because he didn't do beige. Lily, she just glided through with a latte, full of expensive ideas for my money. "You should knock this wall down," she said, tapping a load-bearing column with her manicured nail. "It would be so open." That's Lily, always ready with other people's money and other people's effort. Then, about 3 weeks ago, I got sick. Started like a cold, but my chest just kept getting tighter. Breathing felt like trying to sip air through a cracked straw. At 2 a.m., I drove myself to the ER because I didn't want to bother anyone. Stupid, I know, looking back. Pneumonia, they said. I told work I'd be out a few days. Days turned into 21 in a sterile white room, number 412B. Morphine dreams. A curtain that never really closed, plastic cups of ice water, and nurses who spoke my name like it was a soft thing. Dad came once on day 4. He stood by the bed, staring at my heart monitor like it was a sports scoreboard. "You scared your sister," he accused. "You should have called me." He brought me socks I already owned. He left after 9 minutes. On day 9, Lily texted, "You okay? I might swing by if my schedule opens." Her schedule? Probably a Pilates class and some pop-up market. Then, on day 13, something happened. My neighbor, Mr. Patel, accidentally sent me a photo. It was of my porch. In the picture, there was my dad, holding my spare key, and Lily, smiling wide, surrounded by moving boxes. The caption, "Big Move Day." I stared at that photo until the letters blurred. My stomach dropped. I typed, "That's my house." But I didn't send it. I just couldn't. Finally, day 21. They discharged me with 2 antibiotics, a stack of papers, and a warning to take it easy. The air outside felt like a new planet. I called a ride. My hospital bag thumped against my sore ribs on the driveway, because even then, I was too stubborn to ask for help. And there they were. Dad on my porch, arms crossed. Lily behind him, a measuring tape already in her hand, already planning where to put her ring light. He didn't say hello. He said, "It's not yours anymore. Don't come back." For a second, I thought the pneumonia had crawled into my ears. "What?" I croaked. He lifted his chin toward the deadbolt. "Changed the locks. Lily needs stability. You're never home anyway." Lily twirled the tape, a smug smile on her face. "It's for the best, F. You can get something smaller, like cozy." My lungs burned, but not from the pneumonia. I tightened the strap of my hospital bag. I looked at the house I'd scraped for, the front window with the nicked sill I'd sanded by hand. And I said, "Enjoy it." Dad squinted. "That's it? That's all you have to say?" "That's all I've got today," I replied, and I walked past them right to the sidewalk. I didn't make a scene. I didn't beg. I didn't text a furious paragraph. I booked a motel for a week, bought a toothbrush from a vending machine. I lay on that thin bed with the crinkly mattress cover, staring at the ceiling tiles until they made shapes. I didn't sleep. I just counted. Not money, not steps, just days. And while I counted, I planned a surprise. See, this didn't start with pneumonia or a lock. It started with a pattern. Growing up, if Lily and I both brought home A's, Dad took Lily for ice cream. To me, he'd say, "Don't let it go to your head." When Lily dented the car, he blamed the pole. When I spilled a glass of milk, He lectured me for 15 minutes like it was a TED Talk on carelessness. If Lily cried, the whole house stopped. If I bled, I was fine. Money was always his tool. He used it to fix what shouldn't be fixed, and to break what shouldn't be broken. He wasn't rich construction until his knee gave out, then odd jobs. But whatever he had, he placed on the altar of Lily's potential. She tried cosmetology, moved in with a boyfriend, moved out. Dog grooming, moved back. Sold candles online, burned through 3 credit cards. And somehow it was always my job to help her find her feet. Family is family, Dad would say. You pitch in. Pitch in meant you pay. At 23, I worked 2 jobs and saved like it was a religion. I had a jar on my dresser, a piece of paper taped to it that said house in block letters. Dad called it cute. Lily called it sad. I counted singles, took extra shifts, fixed neighbors' sinks for $60 cash. I learned to patch drywall from YouTube videos played at 1.25x speed. When I got pre-approved for a mortgage, I cried in the bank parking lot because that letter felt like permission to exist. The down payment drained me to $812 in my checking account. The day I closed, Dad scanned the deed. You think you're better than us now? He said. No, I replied. I just want to sleep without hearing the TV through the wall. From the very first weekend, he treated my house like a community center. We'll do family dinners here, he announced. Translation. We'll eat your groceries and leave our plates in the sink. He gave Lily a key for emergencies. Emergencies apparently meant, I need a place to film and my landlord is weird, and it's loud at Dad's. I set rules. Text first, no sleepovers without asking, put the thermostat back. But the rules just slid off them like oil on a pan. Sounds small, right? Until it repeats. Until you come home from a 12-hour shift to find a stranger's shoes on your mat. And Lily saying, oh, that's just Maya. She's crashing. Until Dad leaves your front door wide open because he forgot something in the truck. Then lectures you about crime in the neighborhood. Until your water bill is $218 because Lily had to fill the tub for an aesthetic video with rose petals. I consumed those costs like poison in microdoses because arguing always felt worse than paying. When I pushed back, Dad would do the thing. He'd make it moral. You got a house because this family made you, he'd say. Don't be ungrateful. You mean because I worked? I'd shoot back, and he'd call me disrespectful. The hospital happened because I didn't stop. 2 double shifts, then I caught a chill in a wet basement. Then I ignored the cough because rent doesn't care if you're tired. One night, my chest seized. For a second, I knew exactly what drowning felt like. The ER nurse said, you waited too long. I just nodded because I wait by default. Lying there in 412B, I learned what quiet sounded like without Dad's voice mainlining into my head. On day 7, my supervisor sent a photo of my locker at work with a sticky note on it. Get well. On day 8, Mr. Patel sent that porch photo by mistake, and my heart punched my ribs. I texted Dad, everything okay at my house? He replied, we're handling things. I typed, handling what? And stared at the bubble. Nothing came back. On day 11, a video popped up in Lily's story. Her, spinning in my living room, my beige walls, my thrifted coffee table. Caption, new beginnings. I watched it 3 times. My monitor beeped. I could taste the saline. I called Dad. He let it ring out. I called again. He texted, focus on getting better. We'll talk when you're out. On day 15, I woke at 3 a.m. to the blue glow of the hospital TV and wrote a list on the back of a cafeteria menu. It wasn't angry, it was arithmetic. Mortgage, $1,146. Property tax, $2,187 due in October. Utilities, average $196. Groceries, $280. Repairs, whatever breaks next. Guest budget, $0. I added a line, my spine. On day 19, a respiratory therapist named Carmen said, you look like you're planning a heist. I said, I'm planning not to be robbed. She laughed, then looked at my face and didn't laugh anymore. You need boundaries, baby. I hated that word. I associated it with Instagram quotes and people who buy journals with gratitude on the cover. But lying there, beneath a blanket that smelled like bleach, I realized boundaries weren't slogans. They were locks you didn't apologize for. Discharge came. Dad and Lily came with it. He had the keys I'd paid for. He had a story about stability. He had my front step. And when he said, it's not yours anymore, something in me just unhooked. I didn't tell him to give back the key. I didn't swing. I didn't cry. I just said, enjoy it. Because I know something about momentum. You can turn it. I checked into the motel. I opened my laptop on a dresser with a cigarette burn. I made 3 calls. 1 to a property manager whose card I'd kept for someday. 1 to a locksmith for next Monday at 8 a.m. And 1 to a friend at the sheriff's office to ask what the legal notice window actually is for unauthorized occupants. Answer, 7 days in our county, with owner-occupied status and no lease on file. I printed a notice to vacate at the FedEx down the street, paid $1.32 to staple it. I dated it, and I slept. For the first 3 days, my phone turned into a fire alarm. 17 missed calls from Dad. 31 texts from Lily. A group chat ping. Can someone bring foil? Like I didn't exist. I kept it on Do Not Disturb. Took my pills. Counted down to Monday. Sunday night, I ironed a shirt, for no reason except I wanted to feel like a person who chooses a shirt. Monday, 7:52 a.m. I stood on my own sidewalk with a folder tucked under my arm. It wasn't a dramatic color, just blue from the office supply store. The maple tree was shedding helicopters. My house looked the same as the day I left it. My body didn't. My breath was slower. My hands didn't shake. Dad opened the door before I could knock. You finally decided to come gravel, he said gruffly. Morning, I replied. Lily was barefoot on my rug, coffee in one hand, hair in a messy bun that probably cost money. We're busy, Ethan, she whined. I have a client at 9. At 9, I repeated. Perfect. At 8 o'clock on the dot, the locksmith's van pulled up. At 8:01, so did the property manager's sedan. He was a tidy man named Mark, with a clipboard and a polite smile that hid teeth. 2 minutes later, a second car arrived. A couple in scrubs holding hands. Travel nurses. I signed a lease Friday. Move-in date, today at noon. First month plus deposit $3,400, already in my account. Dad's face went a shade I've only seen on men about to blow a gasket. What's this? He roared. I opened the blue folder, handed him page 1. Notice to vacate. Served last Monday. 7 days. He'd crumpled it on his windshield. I watched him do it on Mr. Patel's door camera. He tossed the paper like it bit him. This is our home. It's my home, I said calm, not loud, not shaky, just flat. You were guests when invited. You were trespassing when you changed the locks. Lily scoffed. You can't evict your family. I can end access you assumed you had, I said. And I did. Mark cleared his throat. Sir, ma'am, we'll give you 20 minutes to gather personal items. The moving team will pack the rest for storage. Storage? Dad said as if I'd said grave. 60 days at my cost, I told him. After that, you handle it. The nurses looked at me with that careful grace medical people have around scenes. We can come back, the woman said softly. You're fine, I told them. You belong here at noon. Dad moved toward the property manager like men move toward punching bags. I stepped between them. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't puff up my chest. I just said, if you touch him, I call the sheriff. If you stay past 9, I call the sheriff. If you break anything, I call the sheriff. Lily snapped. You're actually doing this? Yes, I said. Because you hate us, Dad accused. After everything I've done. This isn't about revenge, I corrected him. This is about closure. He blinked. The locksmith popped the cylinder with a neat click. The sound went straight through me like a bell. Check your email, I told Dad. For the next 90 days, contact is email only. I'll respond within 48 hours. If you need help budgeting, ask respectfully. If Lily needs housing, there are apartments that take deposits. You think you're better than us because you have a spreadsheet? Dad spat. I think I'm better than I was last week, I said. At 8:19, Lily threw 2 armfuls of clothes into a trash bag and glared at me like her glare could melt hinges. You'll regret this, she hissed. I regret waiting this long, I said. At 8:26, Dad stood in the doorway and tried the oldest trick in the book. The speech about blood. Family is forever, he said. You can't evict blood. I'm not evicting blood, I replied. I'm evicting behavior. He looked past me at the travel nurses, now speaking in low voices near the maple. He looked at the locksmith, sweeping brass shavings into his palm. He looked at Mark, already photographing the stove like a man documenting a moon landing. Then he looked at me and saw I wasn't going to flinch. He left. By noon, the house was quiet, except for the sound a new lock makes when the bolt finds a home it likes. The nurses brought in 3 boxes and a plant with long, shiny leaves. We'll treat the place right, the woman said. I believed her. I handed over 2 sets of keys, a maintenance number, and a packet with instructions I'd printed at FedEx. My hands held the paper steady. At 12:37, my phone lit up with a voicemail from Aunt Carol. I heard you threw your father into the street, she said, her voice dripping with venom. I hope your conscience keeps you warm. I deleted it. At 1:12, Dad emailed. Subject: Monster. You'll regret this when you're old and alone. I replied, for the next 90 days, please use email for non-emergencies. Twice monthly dinners are available if you'd like to speak in person. Thursdays at 6 o'clock. He responded, "Don't ever contact me again." I marked it read and closed the tab. 3:04. Lily texted from a new number. "You ruined my life," she wrote. "You could have given me 1 month. I had a collab." I wrote back, once. "The notice was 7 days. I gave you 9. She replied with 24 clapping hand emojis and a link to a story where she called me a snake. I muted her. At 6:30, I went to the motel lobby and filled a paper bowl with stale cereal. My body was still negotiating with appetite. I watched 2 kids fight over the only remote. Their dad handed it to the one who hadn't screamed. I smiled in spite of everything. By day 2, the panic in my family chat had turned to strategy. Aunt Carol posted an article about ungrateful children. Dad replied with facts. Lily replied with crying selfies. I unfollowed the thread and opened a spreadsheet instead. Rent $1,700 per month. Motel $1,469 per week. Meds $138. Groceries $196. Lawyer consult I'd booked for Wednesday, $0, first hour free. Breathing room? Priceless. Something new. Day 3. Dad left a voicemail in his calm voice, the one he uses on bosses and cops. "Ethan," he said. "Let's be rational. Lily can't be on the street, she's vulnerable. You have space. You don't have a heart made of stone. We're family." He paused like he expected me to interrupt. He said the word family like a trap. I emailed back, "I've paid for a storage unit for 60 days. I'll contribute $500 toward Lily's deposit if she applies for her own lease. After that, she is an adult." Dad replied, "Keep your dirty money," then asked me for $200 the next morning. I didn't answer. Boundaries are brutal because they're boring. You don't win. You just repeat them until the echo becomes a wall. Day 4, I met the lawyer. She had kind eyes and very direct sentences. "You own the property outright," she said, flipping through the deed. "Your father has no legal interest. Changing locks without authority is, yes, trespass. Your notice was valid. Keep records. Don't engage over text. Don't turn off utilities as leverage. That would be illegal." I nodded. I wanted to be clean. I wanted to be able to stand in my own story without excuses. Day 5, I went back to work for half a shift. My supervisor clapped me on the shoulder. "You look lighter," he said. "I changed locks," I told him. He laughed. "On your house or your heart?" I laughed too. Felt good in my ribs. That night, Dad sent a long email about sacrifices. The time he fixed my bike chain at midnight in 2004. The time he packed my lunch with a note. I read it all. I let it matter that he had done those things. I wrote back, "I remember. Thank you. And also, we need new rules." I attached a 1-page document titled, "What I will no longer do / what I am willing to do." I will no longer fund Lily's lifestyle, cover emergencies that are poor planning, or provide housing without a lease. I will no longer be reachable 24/7. Email only, 48-hour window, except hospital-level emergencies. I am willing to meet twice a month for dinner. Help you both build a budget if you ask respectfully and show up for true emergencies, hospital, safety, the cops. Everything else is a no. I expected an explosion. Instead, I got silence. Not the scary kind. The other kind. The kind that means the room is rearranging itself. On day 6, Lily asked for the $500 I'd offered. I sent it directly to a leasing office named on a real application. "I hate you," she wrote. "Thanks." 2 hours later, she posted a photo of a tiny studio with a quote about fresh starts. I didn't like it. Didn't roll my eyes. I didn't do anything at all. On day 7, I checked on my house. The nurses had hung a string of soft lights on the porch. It looked like somewhere someone could rest. I stood on the sidewalk and realized I wasn't angry in the way I trained myself to be. I was sad and sure at the same time. It's a weird combination like sweet coffee. At 2 p.m., my dad's truck slowed in front of the curb. He rolled down the window. "You really did it," he said. Not a question. "I really did," I said. He stared at the maple. "Where am I supposed to go when I need something?" "Inside your own life," I said. It sounded mean on paper. It didn't feel mean. He sniffed hard, like he was catching a cold that wasn't there. "You think I'm the villain. I think you're tired," I said. "I think I'm done being your plan." He didn't yell. He didn't throw a speech. He nodded once, short, like men do at stoplights, and drove away. That night, I moved out of the motel and into a short-term sublet above a bakery. The building smelled like sugar at 5 a.m. I slept through my alarm for the first time in years and didn't wake up to panic. The calls slowed. The group chat found a new topic. Aunt Carol attached a recipe. Lily posted a discount code. Dad went quiet for 3 days, then sent me a link to a cheap tire place. No comment. I clicked it. Prices were good. I made eggs in a pan that wasn't mine and ate them hot. 2 weeks later, I met Dad at a diner on a Thursday at 6, like I'd said. He was early. He had that look like he'd been practicing lines in the car. He started with a story about Lily's new place. It's small, he said, but she's making it nice. He looked at me the way men look when they don't know how to ask for a hug. She got a job at a salon. Part-time. It's a start. I'm glad, I said. I meant it. He cleared his throat. You blindsided us. You told me my house wasn't mine, I countered. I chose to believe you for a week. Then I chose something else. He flinched, then nodded like the hit was fair. I was scared, he said. I don't know how to not be in charge. I know, I said. I've been letting you be in charge of me for a long time. We ordered meatloaf because it was on special. He complained about the gravy, because complaining is his love language. I asked how his knee was. He said it clicks when it rains. He asked about my lungs. I said they still feel like paper sometimes. And he didn't say, walk it off. He said, take it easy. And his face made a shape I hadn't seen, like regret learning to speak. I'm not paying your bills, I said when the plates were mostly done. I'm not providing housing without a lease. I won't take midnight calls unless someone's bleeding. He looked out the window at the parking lot lights. You think I'm garbage? I think you're my father, I said. And I think I finally learned how to be my own. We split the check because I'm done being the table's wallet. Outside he hugged me. Awkward. A clap on the back. You're stubborn, he said. I learned from the best, I told him. At home, I borrowed one above the bakery. I wrote one more list and taped it to the inside of a cabinet. Sleep 8 hours. Pay my bills first. Email, not text for family. No surprise visits. Say no without writing a speech. It's not a victory dance. It's a routine. It's what closure looks like in real life. Not fireworks, not an uplifting montage, just a dozen small choices you keep making until they stop feeling like choices and start feeling like the new floor you stand on. I drive by my house sometimes. The porch lights look good. There's a pair of blue sneakers by the door that aren't mine. I'm weirdly proud of that. I'm paying off the last chunk of my hospital bill with the rent. I send $50 a month to a fund I labeled long. I keep my phone on Do Not Disturb at night, and the world doesn't end. If you want the moral in one sentence, it's this: you can love people and still tell them they don't get to live in your house. You can be a good son without being an endless resource. You can choose your own peace and call it what it is. Not selfishness, not revenge. Closure. I won't be the backup plan for adults who won't make a plan. I won't finance chaos dressed up as family. I won't live like my life belongs to whoever yells loudest. I will answer myself first. I will keep my doors intact and my locks legal. I will be the person who chooses the shirt for no reason at all and eats hot eggs in a quiet kitchen. The surprise wasn't the locksmith or the lease or even the blue folder. The surprise was that when I said, enjoy it, I meant it. Enjoy the part of me that isn't available for extraction anymore. Enjoy the version of me that will sit across from you at a diner and listen, and pay half and go home to a life he built and finally got to keep. This isn't about revenge. This is about closure. And the biggest panic they felt wasn't losing a house. It was realizing the old me was gone. So, tell me, have you ever had to choose yourself over family expectations like this? What would you have done in my place? I'm genuinely curious to hear your thoughts in the comments.